Hello, and welcome to this chapter on Feature-Driven Development, or FDD. Feature-Driven Development, or FDD, is an important and widely used Agile method for software development. FDD operates on the principle of completing a project by breaking it down into small, client-valued functions that can be delivered in less than 2 weeks' time. This reflects FDD's two core principles: software development as a human activity, and a client-valued functionality. The first implies that software development cannot be dealt with as a mechanical activity, but is essentially a human activity, making people and processes more important than plans and tools. Secondly, the entire project is broken down into smaller user-centric portions, which are developed through repetitive cycles in which modifications and new functional features are integrated into the project model in each subsequent iteration. We shall start with core values of FDD. FDD's core values can be summarized as follows. A system for building systems is necessary in order to scale to larger projects. A simple, well-defined process works best. Process steps should be logical and their worth immediately obvious to each team member. Process pride can keep the real work from happening. Good processes move to the background so the team members can focus on results. Short, iterative, feature-driven life cycles are best. Next, we'll learn about roles. To keep the project on track and running smoothly, FDD defines 6 major roles. Project Manager, the functional lead of the project, responsible for accounting for the project budget, keeping the team on track, and planning and operating the project system. Chief Architect, responsible for the overall design of the system, paying attention to the technical aspects of the project. Development Manager monitors the everyday development of the project. This person's chief responsibility is to resolve resource conflicts. Chief Programmers, experienced software developers and co-designers who lead a small team of developers. Class Owners, the actual developers and designers of the software. They are chiefly involved in designing, coding, testing, and documenting features. Domain Experts, a group of people who serve as the knowledge base for the above 5 categories. These include the end users of the product, clients, and sponsors. In addition to the above-mentioned 6 roles, FDD also provides for a number of supporting roles. Domain Manager leads the domain experts, largely on projects only. Release Manager, similar to the tracker role in XP, he or she reports directly to the project manager and ensures the chief programmers are regularly reporting progress. Language Guru, only used in projects in which the programming language is new to the team. Build Engineer, responsible for the regular builds, including the build process setup. Toolsmith, provides tools for the team and could be part of the IT department. And System Administrator, responsible for managing servers and workstations. Further, there are 3 more roles that are needed. These roles can be played by someone who is part of the project team or part of another organization. Testers, responsible for the verification of the overall system functionality and performance and could be part of the quality assurance department. Deployers, responsible for the deployment of the system and could be part of the operations department. Technical writers, responsible for providing user documentation and could be part of a documentation department. Practices is the next concept. There are 8 best practices that make up FDD. Domain Object Modeling. The Domain Object Model provides an overall framework for the system that gives guidance to the teams and helps to provide a better initial design. In FDD, functions are added to it feature by feature. The Domain Object Model allows the overall problem or system to be divided into smaller pieces. Developing by feature. Features are functional requirements of value to clients. They are described in a way that clients can easily understand and prioritize them. Underlying functionality, such as infrastructure, while necessary, has no meaning to the client and is therefore not tracked as a feature. Features and FDD are granular functions expressed in client value terms using the following format. Example: calculate the total price for the items in a shopping basket. Individual class code ownership. Class or code ownership is with individuals. Each developer is assigned ownership of one or more classes from the domain object model. This is quite different from other Agile methodologies and is a key to FDD. Feature teams. Feature teams develop single client-valued features. A feature team consists of a team leader, typically a chief programmer, and those class owners needed to implement the features. FDD features are small, and therefore the corresponding feature teams are normally small, consisting typically of 3 to 6 people. Each team member contributes to the design and implementation of a feature. Class owners can be members of multiple feature teams at the same time. Team leaders can be class owners too, and as such, can be members of feature teams led by another chief programmer. Inspections. Inspections are a key element of FDD to ensure quality. They are organized by the chief programmer and involve the entire feature team. Because everybody on the team has contributed, everybody's code is inspected. The chief programmer decides whether or not to involve people from outside the feature team in the review. This is usually based upon the complexity and dependencies, and so on. Regular builds. Builds of the complete system are done at regular intervals. Regular builds help to detect integration errors early in the project and ensure that there is always a system available to demonstrate for the client. The intervals are not defined by FDD and depend on the size and complexity of the system and the time it might take to build. Shorter intervals are preferred. Configuration management. This is not really specific to FDD, but it is common sense to have a CM system in place. For FDD, it is only required to have the code for the completed features and related class changes under version control in the CM system. It is advisable, though, to include requirements documentation, test cases, and other artifacts under version control in the CM system. Reporting and visibility of results. High visibility of progress is important in FDD. Progress is tracked on a per-feature basis. For the design and build of each feature, 6 milestones are defined. Each milestone has a certain percentage of progress associated with it. This progress is counted when the milestone is reached at 100%. Before that, the related progress is counted as 0. In other words, no credit is given for work in progress. This emphasizes getting things completed rather than having them almost done. The following table illustrates the milestones and associated percentages. Now we'll learn about the process to implement FDD. Closely following an iterative and an incremental approach, the team comprised of the above-mentioned people developed the project by dividing it into 5 broad processes. Developing an overall model. The first process involves creating the base object model and establishing the shape of the system. This is done under the guidance of the chief architect, who is an experienced object modeler. The chief architect, chief programmers, and domain experts perform a high-level walkthrough of the system's scope and context. The model is defined and selected by consensus. This initial model is updated iteratively during Process 4, Design by Feature. Entry criteria. The chief architect, chief programmers, and domain experts have been selected and assigned. Tasks. Form the modeling team, which is required. This is the responsibility of the project manager. The team should have permanent members such as chief architect, chief programmers, and domain experts. But it may make sense to include other members of project teams on a temporary basis to spread knowledge. Conduct a domain walkthrough, which is required. This is done by modeling team. A domain expert provides an overview of the domain to be modeled. Study documents, only when needed. This is done by the modeling team. The team studies available reference or requirements documents. Develop small group models. This step is required. The modeling team is broken down into smaller sub-teams, no more than 3 members each. Each of these sub-teams develops a proposed model for their respective domain area. Develop a team model. This step is required. In a meeting with the whole modeling team, a representative from each of the sub-teams from the previous task presents the proposed model developed by his or her sub-team. By consensus, the modeling team selects one of the proposals as the model to be used going forward. Refine the overall object model. This is required. After iterations, the modeling team refines the overall object model. Write model notes. This is required. For future reference, note significant alternatives and/or complex or detailed model shapes. Verification of the results. The results of this process are assessed internally by the domain experts in the team and, if necessary, externally by business users. Exit criteria. The modeling team must provide an object model that is accepted by the chief architect. Building a features list. The chief programmers and others, if needed, identify the features that are necessary to fulfill the requirements. The team provides a hierarchical feature list based on the domain partitioning for the preceding process. The hierarchy consists of major feature sets, a breakdown of the domain into multiple areas. Feature sets, also called activities, a further breakdown of the areas. And features, identifying the steps within each activity. All features are client-oriented. Entry criteria. The modeling team has successfully completed the preceding process. That is, it has developed an overall model that has been accepted by the chief architect. Tasks. Form the features list team. This step is required. This is the responsibility of the project manager and the development managers. The team normally consists of the chief programmers from the preceding process. Others can be added if needed. Build the features list. This step is required. Based on reference and requirements documents and the results knowledge from the preceding process, the team identifies features. As a general rule, features should be very small and should not take more than 2 weeks to be completed, preferably even less. If a feature is too small to fit into 2 weeks, then the team breaks it down into smaller features. Verification of the results. The results of this process are assessed internally by the feature list team members and, if necessary, also externally by business users and/or domain experts from the modeling team. Exit criteria. The features list team must provide a features list that is accepted by the project manager and the development manager. A list of major feature sets or areas. A list of feature sets, activities, per area. A list of features per activity. Planning by feature. The project manager, the development manager, and the chief programmers from a planning team that creates a development plan. Entry criteria. The features list team has successfully completed the preceding process. That is, it has developed a features list that has been accepted by the project manager and the development manager. Tasks. Form the planning team. This step is required. This is the responsibility of the project manager. The team normally consists of the project manager, the development manager, and the chief programmers from the preceding processes. Others can be added if needed. Determine the development sequence. This step is required. Based on the feature list from the preceding process, the planning team sets a date, a year, and a month for the completion of each feature set. Typical development criteria are evaluated during the planning, such as complexity, risk, feature dependencies, load per expert, and necessary external milestones such as beta releases, demos, and so on. Assign the feature set to chief programmers. This step is required. The planning team assigns features. After the assignment, the chief programmers own their respective feature sets. The assignment follows normal development practices. Assign classes to developers. This step is required. The planning team assigns classes. After the assignment, the developers own their respective classes. The assignment follows normal development practices. Verification of the results. The results of this process are assessed internally by the feature planning team members. Exit criteria. The features list team must provide a development plan that is accepted by the project manager and the development manager. These include feature sets with completion dates, both year and month, and the completion dates for major feature sets. Assignments of chief programmers. Assignments of class owners. Designing by feature. This is done per feature to produce a design package. The chief programmer selects one or more features he or she owns and forms a feature team to develop these features. The classes are detailed. The sequence diagrams are created. And object models that was created in the first process is updated and refined by the chief programmer as needed. Entry criteria. The planning team has successfully completed the preceding process, that is, it has provided a development plan that has been accepted by the project manager and the development manager. Tasks. Form a feature team. This step is required. This is the responsibility of the chief programmer. He or she identifies the classes impacted by the features selected by the chief programmer. Based on those classes, the chief programmer identifies the developers needed for the features team. Perform a domain walkthrough. This step is optional. This is done by a domain expert per the chief programmer's request. This task is only performed if the chief programmer and/or the class owners feel it is necessary due to complexity of the feature itself or of the interactions with other features. Study documents. This step is optional. This is done by the features team members if they feel it is necessary due to complexity of the feature itself or its interactions with other features. Develop sequence diagrams. This step is required. This is done by the feature team. The task includes the development of the detailed sequence diagrams as well as the recording of alternative designs, decisions, and so on. Refine the object model. This step is required. This is done by the chief programmer. He or she refines the model as needed and creates a shared workspace for the team. Write class and method prologue. This step is required. This is done by the feature team. Based on the preceding task, each class owner writes the class and methods prologue, including parameter types, return types, and so on. Design inspection. This step is required. This is done by the feature team. The inspection can be done solely with team members of the feature team or can include other project team members. This is decided by the chief programmer. If the design is accepted, then a to-do list is created for each class owner for further steps. Verification of the results. The results are verified with a successful design inspection. Exit criteria. The feature team must provide a design package that has been accepted in the design inspection. Building by feature. This process involves building the feature. The chief programmers and the class owners implement, inspect, and test the code designed in the above process. Based on the outcome, changes are incorporated into the next iteration. Entry criteria. The feature team has successfully completed the preceding process. That is, it has provided a design package that has been accepted in the design inspection. Tasks. The building by feature process can be divided into the following tasks per feature. Implement classes and methods. This step is required. Conduct a code inspection. This step is required. Unit test. This step is required. Each class owner tests his or her own code. The requirements for the testing are defined by the chief programmer. Promote the build. This step is required. This is done by the feature team and the chief programmer. It is only possible to promote the build when there has been a successful code inspection and unit test. Verification of the results. The results are verified with a successful code inspection and unit test. Exit criteria. The feature team must have completed the development of one or more whole features, such as client-valued functions. One of the reasons FDD is successful is that it enables tracking progress with precision. This is done by the release manager, who meets weekly with the chief programmers to track the progress of the project. Based on the information gathered, he or she releases progress reports for the teams and for the clients and marks the features completed, features in progress, features not yet begun, and issues that require attention. And with that, we'll wrap up this module on FDD. Thank you for learning with us.